Did you try to buy silver over the weekend? You might have seen messages like this, or others like this. I normally don't do thumbnails like the one on this video because most of the people who make thumbnails like this are creating clickbait images, so folks watch their videos, and I'm just not hyperbolic like that. But could we see $1,000 silver? I believe we might. I made a video last Thursday, about silver's true fundamental value and how I feel that that value is $1,000. But we could see that $1,000 price realized a lot sooner than I had thought. In this video, I'm going to go over what's going on in the markets to drive up the price of silver and my thoughts on what might happen coming up. Hey everyone, welcome to Campbell's Coins. In order to explain what's happening in the markets, we have to wind the clocks back about 2 weeks. Maybe you've heard about it, maybe you haven't. A subgroup on Reddit called Wall Street Bets has made some huge moves against Wall Street and a few hedge funds. Personally, I could not be happier. It's capitalism at its finest. But let's get into what had happened. Melvin Capital, a hedge fund, shorted a bunch of low-priced stocks like GameStop, Bed Bath & Beyond, AMC, like the theater, all businesses that were severely impacted by COVID and the lack of business at strip malls. The way these bets work is the hedge fund borrows shares of the stock and sells those borrowed shares. Shorting a stock means the stock trader sees the price of a stock falling in the future, so they are betting that it will fall to a specific price level by a certain date. If the stock doesn't reach that level by that date, the stock trader has to pay out money. When it comes time to give the borrowed shares back, they put them on the market, hopefully at lower prices. For example, they might sell the borrowed share at $50, hoping to be able to buy the share back at $30 to make a $20 profit. This is called shorting. The hedge funds were so sure that GameStop was going to go down, Melvin Capital shorted 138% of GameStop's stock. GameStop was the most shorted stock on the market. 138% of the shares in existence were borrowed. Imagine, John borrows from Jane, who borrows from Mary, who borrows from John. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. They were shorting more stock than actually exists. It's illegal and it's called a naked short. Shorting is risky, but the hedge funds were so sure they just did not care. A Reddit group found out about the shortage and thought, what if we all just bought shares and refused to sell them when the hedge funds needed to give their borrowed shares back? They decided to get its members to buy up these stocks so the prices rise instead of going down. The price goes up, the hedge funds are forced to buy back the expensive shares and lose money. Except the hedge funds kept doubling down as the price rode up, expecting that it would eventually fall. The Redditors were scared off and refused to sell. This Reddit group put what is called a short squeeze on the hedge fund because the stock price soared with all this extra capital. It gets to the point where the hedge fund isn't big enough to buy back the shares they borrowed because the price is so high. When that happens, they can be margin called. Basically, this means once they get to the point where they don't have enough money to pay for the shares they borrowed, their accounts can be liquidated and they can be forced to buy regardless of what the current price is. If a big fund gets margin called, it puts a huge amount of buying pressure on the stock, causing the already high stock price to go even higher. As these funds get margin called, prices shoot up, causing more margin calls. A lot of funds go bankrupt. Well, this is what really f***ed over Melvin Capital to the tune of billions of dollars. Except, this isn't exactly what happened. Melvin Capital was sinking fast and other hedge funds flooded it with billions of dollars to keep it afloat, except that money disappeared as fast as it arrived. Melvin Capital then complained to the stock exchange about things being unfair and got trading to halt. You heard me right. they stopped all trading because they were losing. A very highly illegal and manipulative technique. They also got Robinhood, the app so many people use for this stock trading, to halt the buying of GameStop. Users could no longer buy GameStop. They could only hold or sell. Robinhood, an investing app built upon the idea of a free market, caved to its overlords and halted the purchase of GameStop and other stocks. They also sold some of its users' GameStop stocks without their permission for, quote, their own good. As you can imagine, this has made millions of people furious and demanding answers from the SEC. I should mention that Robinhood is owned by Citadel Advisors, which also owns Melvin Capital. Kind of a incestuous relationship, if you ask me. Robinhood traders are dumping the app. Google has had to remove almost 100,000 one-star Robinhood reviews amid the scandal. Talk about manipulation on all fronts. Fast forward to this past weekend, and stock traders in this Reddit group and beyond got tired of being locked out of stocks, so they decided to target SLV. SLV is the silver paper market. It is where we get spot pricing. It is a highly manipulated market where more paper stocks are sold for silver than silver is mined in the entire year. They are telling their users and others to buy SLV and to hold on to it until silver hits the moon. And when it does, and when one sells, they must demand physical product. When people buy SLV and GLD on the market, they are buying paper shares of gold and silver. When they sell, they are given the option to either get cash or demand physical delivery of those metals that they bought stock in. The group's intention is to put silver on the map once again. Put the short squeeze on banks and the COMEX. The COMEX is a place that houses silver and gold by demanding physical delivery of silver. There are many banks out there that own silver. JP Morgan is one of the biggest. They have about almost 1 billion ounces, if not over, of physical silver in their vaults. Citadel Advisors, which owns Melvin Capital, they have about 6 million shares of SLV, and I'll get to that in just a little bit. But the Reddit users' main purpose was effectively collapsing a highly manipulated market. But there was just one problem. This is their game. They can change the rules as they see fit. Remember how they halted trading simply because they were losing? They rage quit because somebody beat them at their own game. It will happen to silver when people demand physical silver. The exchange will simply pay them in cash and think nothing of it. This is their game. They can change the rules as they see fit. The way to avoid all of this is you just simply do not play in their game. This last Friday, January 29th, 2021, SLV volume traded was 10 times more than GLD volume. This has never ever happened before. It took in nearly $1 billion in a day. Additionally, these Reddit users didn't realize at the time, but Citadel Advisor is the 5th largest holder of SLV stock. Citadel is the hedge fund which owns Melvin Capital and, of course, owner of Robinhood. They realized it is not a good idea to squeeze silver purchasing SLV because it would only help Citadel. Some think since Citadel owns that much SLV, they could be behind the move to squeeze, quote-unquote, silver to get themselves out of the GameStop hole. As a result, Reddit users have targeted physical silver instead. Thousands of new silver customers flooded the silver bullion market and overwhelmed online precious metals dealers over the last week. Most of these dealers simply quit selling silver over the weekend. They put messages up saying that they will stop selling silver until Sunday night when the markets open back up. There was such a huge demand. I think I saw in an email from Apmex, they had more new customers on Saturday than they had in an entire week. So there is a huge demand out there coming in to buy physical silver. And these online bullion dealers, they want to kind of keep ahead of that, and not sell their silver out for cheap if the price suddenly just starts climbing up higher and higher. Now that the markets have opened, they are selling silver again, but some websites are crashing with the flood of people. While they are selling, the premiums are enormous. The last time I looked, an American Silver Eagle was $12 over spot, selling around 40, I think it was like $40 or $42 a piece. And that was on the low end if you were to buy like 1,500 of them with check or money wire. The demand is so huge and they expect prices to go much higher. What do I think is going to happen? I think we're going to see some really high prices for silver. Some say $50 an ounce, others say $100 an ounce, and some even $1,000 an ounce. I think if we head into the $1,000 per ounce territory, it will be very brief and come drastically and quickly back down. But where will the price settle? Now, that is the million-dollar question to be asking. I think we can see silver settling in the $100 to $250 range. Things will be very volatile in the next few weeks. Expect huge gains and drops. It will be very difficult to get your hands on physical silver, and premiums will be very high. I spoke to some friends and they said that they called their local coin shop and their coin shop was booked up until Wednesday. So they had to make an appointment to visit and they were booked all the way up to Wednesday. I'm filming this on the 31st of January. So, and this will go live on the 1st of February. Since it's going to be so difficult to get your hands on physical precious metals, specifically silver, there is going to be a lot of scammers out there. Be very careful when buying precious metals, especially right now. If a price seems too good to be true, it probably is. If someone's selling to you at spot or below spot, question yourself. Why are they doing this? Does that make any sort of sense with the market that's going on? If people come out of the woods and say, I have to pay off blah, 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 blah. Does that really make sense to what's going on right now? Why weren't they selling that a few weeks ago when silver has been at $25? They could have done it then. Why are they doing it right now? Think of motives. People are unscrupulous, and just cover your butts out there, okay? I'm going to be putting out videos related to this topic and more as we go through the week just to keep you all informed, so stay tuned for more of that. Thank you all so much for watching. This is Campbell's Coins, and that is my 2 cents. They also got Robinhood, the app so many people use for stock trading, to stop cha 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 cha.